What's up, everybody? It's your boy right here. This is Power Impact Comics. And this video, as y'all see on my background right here, wrong way, but as you see on my background right here, you are going to be seeing me talk about the Spider-Man No Way Home movie because, as y'all, well, people know, I'm not the biggest Spider-Man fan at all. But what I will say about this particular movie, it was A+. Look at that, A+. But before I begin this video, I want you guys to make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. I actually have a goal. I want to hit 500 subscribers by the summer. So please help your boy out. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button, baby. And post a comment below and let me know what you guys think. So let me say something. This movie was incredible. I have to say that. The story arcs, the storylines, how they set up everything was A+. There was some criticism. I'm gonna get to the criticism later, but there were a lot of stuff that in this movie that they did particularly well. I loved it. I loved every second of it. It was funny. There was a lot of things about this movie that was particularly funny. I love the portrayal of Doctor Strange. I actually love the fact that they used the original actors for the movies, from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man to the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. They literally used the same exact actors. I love that about this movie. I also love the fact that the three Spider-Mans dialogues, and you could see how, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man was just like really regular compared to like Tom Holland's and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, because you had Tom Holland take on Thanos, and then you had Tobey Maguire Spider-Man take on Venom in Spider-Man 3, as well as Sandman. So that was particular entertaining to watch in the comedy aspect. Now, the thing is that you also learn about all three Spider-Mans, and they discuss about their failures. That was cool. Ned, I want to say, like, Ned was pretty funny. I think they're going for him being like a sorcerer or something, it looks like. But Ned in the comic books, for those who don't know, was actually a hobgoblin. He became the hobgoblin, I want to say 1992, something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank, but Ned actually does become a hobgoblin. I don't know if they're going to go that route. I like that they did One More Day type storyline with trying to make people forget that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. And then, Peter ends up messing up Dr. Strange spell, because every time in the middle of the spell, he kept just adding stuff. So I said, okay. And then it just made the spell go haywire and all that. And I thought that was pretty funny, because he was like, well, everybody who knows all Spider-Man. And then next thing you know, he just disrupt the timeline. And then, he ends up fighting Dr. Octopus. And that fight was so amazing. It was quite amazing. I mean, I loved every second of it. My like I said, the only issue that I always have, and the criticism I always have, is the secret identity, because writers and all that, they love to expose their secret identity. And I really, really hate that. Like, that is the worst thing about superheroes, where they just give out their secret identities when they have enemies, and writers be thinking those are good stories. Those are terrible stories, because, they have tons of enemies. It's not just superpower enemies. It's also enemies that are drug dealers, thugs, gangsters that can just come shoot up your house. They know where you live, shoot your house up. You know what I mean? So it's like, this is doofy type stuff. Not only that, the criminal element, goes up with when the presence of a superhero. So I always hate that they do that. I really do hate that everybody knew he was Peter Parker, but for this particular story, it actually worked out because of how it corresponded with Doctor Strange and how he ended up messing up the multiverse, and people were coming in. Um, the thing is about this movie is that I still don't see how it goes into Doctor Strange because he fixed it. So I'm not seeing how that works unless um maybe he doesn't or something else happens that disrupts the timeline because he kind of fixed it. So I'm not sure how that works into Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness because it would have been made more sense to me that this is supposed to lead into Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, but they should have just left it where the time continuum was broken still. And, he had to go and pretty much fix the timeline. That's just me. Like, that's how I felt like they should do it. Another criticism, though, is Jamie Foxx version of Electro. First of all, Electro's dumb, but Jamie Foxx Electro actually didn't even know that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. So that was a little weird that he knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. But I think that has something to do with the fact that because of the multiverse and the timeline shift, I think that's why he, knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man based off the fact of what Tom Holland's Peter Parker did and how he destroyed the multiverse and disrupted the timeline, disrupted the spell. So I think that's how he knew. I mean, obviously Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, they knew who he was because they pulled off his mask and everything. So I get that. And I know a lot of people were saying that it was a Sinister Six, and because spoiler alert, Venom was in it, but you don't really see Venom like that. So it was like kind of like pointless to say Sinister Six. Wouldn't even call it Sinister Five. It was just 5 different villains in there. And truthfully, it was only 4 that were villains because, Dr. Octopus becomes somewhat of a hero and they start curing all the bad guys and stuff, all the villains. And the tearjerker was Aunt May's death. That was a tearjerker, right? It was a tearjerker. Some people are disappointed that she died, but hey, she was the reason that Peter made those poor decisions. She was the reason for that because she was like, well, they need our help, so we have to help him because he was going to send it back like this isn't our problem. So you got to help somebody. So because of that, it was like, oh, okay. So after that, he ended up trying to cure them. And then after, she died, he was like, I got to send you guys back home. And he was in a dark place. Like he was definitely went to a dark place. And, with Spider-Man, I think with Toby, Tom, and Andrew, they all represented 3 different versions of Spider-Man. I do think that, Tom Holland, Spider-Man was the cheerful, optimistic, the hopeless optimism, where he was like, hey, yo, everybody, I'm Spider-Man, I'm here. He talked a lot of trash. He was having fun being Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield represented the dark section of Spider-Man where the Spider-Man that had to deal with loss, family loss, where he started being angry and not pulling his punches. And then Tobey Maguire is the adult version who figured it out. I mean, I think that's what all 3 represented just watching them, because Tobey Maguire, he was the oldest Spider-Man and he's the one that went through a lot, with Uncle Ben's death, dealing with his anger when he was controlled by the symbiote, looking at Dr. Octopus' death. Like he dealt with a lot and he matured enough. So I think that's what they were going with as far as the 3 different Spider-Mans. I also want to touch on Green Goblin. Green Goblin was cool. He was actually funny. He put them paws on Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and when he they literally in that whole fight was doing wrestling moves. Like he got power bombed through the floor. Then he got suplex And then I think Tom, if I remember, I think Tom Holland suplexed him through the floor. I'm like, dude, they just do a WWE move. They doing powerbomb suplexing people's elbows. I'm like, what's with all these wrestling? I thought that was funny because they were suplexing the mess out of each other. I'm like, good Lord. I was like, good Lord. Also, I also like that how they play with John Jones Jameson and how, you know, his hatred for Spider-Man and always turning people, getting Spider-Man and Spider-Man is a menace. I actually thought that was pretty cool. They kept that intact. So I thought it was cool. Like I said, this movie was great. Obviously, if they come out with a Spider-Man 3, Tom Holland's version, or Spider-Man 4, I think it is, it'll be the fourth. I do think that Venom would be in it because of what they did with that little Easter egg with Venom. So we'll see, per se, if they're going to go that route. But Tom Holland said that he kind of wants to say goodbye to Spider-Man at some point. So we'll see. So the only other thing that I could see them doing is killing off Peter Parker and then adding in Miles Morales, because that was a little Easter egg too, because that's the second time they talked about Miles, which is going to piss a lot of people off if Miles takes Tom Holland's spot, because I do feel like they'll go that route because he doesn't want to play Spider-Man forever. So I do think that like if this Spider-Man 4 comes out, I do think they will go that route. But we'll see. But I'm gonna tell y'all now, if you haven't seen this movie, please go out here and watch it. This is coming from a dude who's not the biggest fan of Spider-Man, but this movie was great. Like, dog, this movie was A+. I can't stress enough how great. I give this 5-star rating. Good Lord, I drew a blank on that, but a 5-star rating, 5 out of 5. I really do give it 5 out of 5. Do-rags. I really do. It's an amazing movie. Go ahead and watch it. And if you liked my review of this movie, go ahead, hit that like button for your boy. Share it. Share the video. You know, help your boy out. And oh yeah, Static, baby. I can't wait for this to come out. And I will catch you on the next video. Peace out.